What's up, ladies and gents, Nolly here. Welcome to another Payday video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the preview for the brand new Biker Heist being released on the 16th of June alongside the character pack. And from this webpage, there's quite a lot we can actually garner a day early about what this heist is going to entail and some interesting details actually surrounding it and the entire DLC, which is of course going to cost you $7, so it's worth knowing beforehand what it is you're going to be getting, and this webpage may or may not sell you on picking this one up. So first of all, I'd just like to say how cool this wallpaper is. If you guys like me are interested in downloading it, you can find the webpage link in the description down below. Of course, you can browse through it at your leisure as well and take a good look at everything that I'm going to be covering in this video. So starting things off with day one, the Lion's Den. Home is where the bike is. We're entering the Lion's Den, so don't expect this to go smoothly. Save the mechanic and make sure that he can work in peace without any deadly distractions. Also, get him everything he needs and don't inhale too much diesel fumes, so you'll get more crazy than usual. Welcome to the clubhouse. So as you can tell, we are heading to the clubhouse, basically the one we saw from the trailer, repurposed for a video game, with a brand new layout that will function a little more and suit that style of play more, because it is of course a holdout mission, and it looks beautiful. Not only like aesthetic design and originality for a DLC, which is always very important. I was really impressed the first time we went to a museum in the Diamond, and now we're going to a slightly lower profile location, but still a really interesting and nicely designed one. And I also like the way it's been laid out with tables and chairs everywhere, as you'd expect from a bar, I suppose, but or a clubhouse. But this really is the perfect scenario for a holdout. You've got that balcony up top, and you've got the bar that you can hide behind. I really like it, especially bearing in mind you can see the enemies funneling through that front door. Perfect for the sort of close quarters shotgun style of gameplay that I've been really enjoying recently. A couple of things though from that description that are worth talking about, and from the screenshots down below. You are of course going to be defending the mechanic. We've seen a lot of defend heists in the past. The one that I imagine this one is going to be most like is the Santa's Workshop heist, because you're going to be managing this mechanic but also doing things for him, by the sounds of things, and the mechanic is going to be working on some bikes. So this day one of the heist is going to revolve around bikes, as I'm sure you'd imagine from the biker heist, and day two I think is more about putting those bikes to use, though I'm not sure. It may just be that the bikes are loot in and of themselves, but we'll have to take a look at that further down and try and come to some conclusions. Of course, it's not that much to speculate for. The DLC is coming out tomorrow. But here are the screenshots that are definitely worth taking a look at. This one in particular really stands out to me, because I think it shows off how far Overkill has come when it comes to heist and level design over the past 18 months or so. Once upon a time, I felt that a lot of Overkill's missions, in Payday 2 anyway, were a little bit linear and they weren't multi-leveled enough. And here we see a real good example of using many different stories and cover additions to your advantage. You can see the courtyard down below. There's loads of different cover placements. There's cars, there's barrels, things like that. And then up here, you've got a relatively exposed area that, of course, comes with that high ground advantage. It seems ideal when you add things like the new sentry gun skills to be able to set them up on top of this balcony we see up here. But, they have to be relatively exposed, and enemies have that same sort of advantage. This more interesting layout has been something that has been massively improved in heists over time, and I think this one will be no different. What's also nice to note is that this heist will in fact be taking place in a wider area, this courtyard, with a number of additional buildings with different layers, as I was saying. Not just in the clubhouse, while that is, I'm sure, where most of the fighting and holdout will go on. You have different ways of approaching the mission depending on what your build is, and those ways are accentuated by this style of level design. So hats off to Overkill for what I'm seeing here. Next up, we have another really interesting screenshot, of course, a bike, which is, I assume, what we're fixing up. We'll see that in some screens later on. And it seems that there's going to be a bit more riding going on. We'll have to wait and see how the physics is on the bikes, whether they're going to be sliding around all over the place or whether they control quite nicely. Maybe we're going to get some mounted gunplay as well. We'll have to wait and see as far as that's concerned. I'm not sure that sort of thing's going to be added here with the bikes, but it may be that, one bike can seat two as well. One can sit on the back, fire off. Really interesting, and if this vehicle gameplay is pulled off better than we've seen in the past, bikes are ideal to get it right. It could be a load of fun. Next up, we have some more indoor screens taking a look at. This is one of the prettiest ones, I think. It just shows how nice the environment is that Overkill's crafted here for the bar. I'm a real fan of this, and this is the holdout situation. You get down behind the bar. There's a bunch of money down there as well, so there will be some loose cash hanging around if you want to explore this pretty rich area. And yeah, this is ideal. This is what I'm looking for in that sort of holdout. And here is another screenshot you see actually holding off in the courtyard. Up to the top left there, I think, is where we saw the previous raised screenshot. So I'm not sure how you're getting up there, but you can see there's an enemy up top in the distance and also on the same level as you. This seems to be the way you're going to get into the clubhouse. So it's not going to be a simple holdout mission. It's going to involve some moving around, as all good lab missions should, if you ask me. But again, here is what they're emphasizing, the nice aesthetic of the bar. And here are the motorbikes. Before you're able to ride them, I assume this is, I imagine where the mechanic is going to be at work, setting you tasks and asking for you to defend him. And this is where I assume you're going to take off with the bikes and make your escape into day 2. Basically, all the screens are showing similar things from this point on. So moving on to day 2. A real innovator, I feel. Day 2 could be really very interesting. Just look at this. Look at this little mini clip running on the right-hand side. Oh, I love it. It looks so nice. I hope none of you are actually motion sick, because this is a one-way ticket. This mission, or day 2, I should say, is called Interception. Pulling off a heist is one thing. Pulling off a heist at 60 miles per hour is a whole other world of problems. This ride is obviously going to be rough. Basically a literal and narrow gauntlet with no way out. Just one thing remains: keep pushing forward until you reach the mother lode. Hope you don't have issues with gunfire and motion sickness. Choo choo. So this is the hype train. We're finally able to ride it, and you can see an awful lot going on just in this little clip here. You can see that you're not just going to be running along a straight line on this train. There are going to be many levels and dimensions to it, as I was mentioning before. But also, there's cars running along the road next to you. There is a helicopter flying over the top of you, working with an automated turret on the underside. And this is going to be really cool. And I think graphically is what really seems to be setting this mission apart. I really like the style. I love the sunset in the distance. And it seems like if Overkill can pull this one off nicely, and people aren't dropping frames because of the slightly more unusual style of it, it could be really, truly brilliant. Really looking forward to day 2 of this heist in particular, and some of these screens are going to give you a little more insight into why this freeze frame shows what looks to me like explosive barrels, and something in the distance certainly is blowing up. This next one is, again, giving you a much better look at the enemies, the SWATs actually riding on the back of these FBI vans, causing you issues. I assume they're not going to mount from the cars, but they just may. I'll be really interested to see how they actually do enemy spawns on this style of mission. It is going to be a gauntlet, running in a straight line. Are they going to spawn behind you? Are you going to get cornered in some situations? It could be a real push on or die situation they could go for, which could be really intense gameplay that we've not really seen out of Payday in the past, at least as far as I can think. Also, yeah, you can see that is essentially the SWAT van turret's turret mounted on the bottom of a helicopter. Pretty cool. Will be likely even harder to shoot down because it's going to be moving away from you and at distance, but quite a rewarding challenge, I hope. And here's another interesting one. You can see that car is flipping in one way or another. I don't know whether you shot the driver out, whether you've just shot the men out the back of it. Maybe you can shoot for the engine. We'll have to wait and see as far as that's concerned, but definitely a real cinematic style I'm getting from this heist. And this screenshot really highlights that again. They've really pushed the boat out here, trying to make it look as nice as physically possible and make it as busy as possible. For a gauntlet-style mission, you've got to make it exciting. There's got to be things going on all around you. Otherwise, it's going to be a straight cakewalk. And I think that ends the screenshots. Yeah, they're all basically the same now. We actually caught a quick glimpse there of one of the new masks, which I'm going to scroll down and take a look at in just a second. But I don't know what we're going to be stealing on this heist. There's no great implication. It seems like we use the bikes in day one, but they're no, you're not going to get millions of dollars from a couple of bikes. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what we're grabbing here. This is the new weapon, the SMG, the CR-85B, and it's really been shoehorned into the game. It's quite funny, actually. This description sort of explains why, but I'm never that excited for these sort of military issue style of guns. I'd much rather see something interesting, different, maybe some, shotguns, but I think the shotgun we're going to be getting with the biker himself is going to be a lever action of some sort that could be really interesting to play around with. It could be made in a different fashion and feel different. This SMG just looks like a high-powered, low-ammo standard SMG. I can't get too excited for, but here's a little explanation as to why we're getting this. This really isn't a biker's first choice of weapon, but the Overkill MC, but as the Overkill MC by accident got a hold of some, they stuck with it. After a tip came in about a truck carrying TVS, they thought they could earn some extra cash, but upon pulling it over, they found it packed with the SMG CR-85B brand instead. They didn't ask questions, and as the driver was no more, they just kept the loot. So here is your biker heist weapon, part of the $7 package, and it's got those, really nice high accuracy and stability stats. It's got a decent rate of fire, especially for that 80 damage, but you do have to worry about a magazine. The mag size isn't the problem, it's the total ammo size that I think really worries me about this gun. It looks like it controls really nicely and basically works like a little pocket secondary assault rifle, so I will try it out, see how it works, but not something to be getting too excited about. The throwable axe, on the other hand, is certainly something that could be interesting and different if it's done well. A sharp axe is never wrong, and this one is especially good when throwing. It got popular amongst bikers. Riding a bike can sometimes be dangerous and you need some protection, so this sporting axe suddenly ran out of stock as bikers found it extra handy for highway battles. So we'll have to wait and see what this axe actually entails. We've already had two throwable non-explosives in the past, or I guess the Molotov also counts as a non-explosive, but we're talking about things like the Shuriken, which of course had the poison effect on it, and the spear, which was, if I remember correctly, the way I've not used that since it came out, the way it functioned was it essentially did damage through armor. It had some sort of armor penetration. It worked well against bulldozers, I remember that much anyway. We'll have to see what the throwable axe does. Maybe you'll be able to carry more, maybe they'll throw further. I imagine it'll have to be something revolving around this weapon's damage to make it, stack up with the explosives, which are generally a better choice of throwable, but it's certainly cool in terms of design and aesthetic. Next up, we have the masks, and oh my god, these are awesome. If anything, it's going to bring me back to do a couple of mask designs. It's masks being added like these. So we can run you through them. The flaming skull, the skull as a symbol can either mean death or mortality, and we have always had a fascination for it. Wearing this motorcycle helmet looks powerful and intimidating. And it's a bit more than the helmet, isn't it? It's a full-on face mask, and one of my favorites that we see here. This is, though I like them all to be honest, this is the Biker Classic. This old school motorcycle helmet is part of a legacy that all bikers around the world cherish, and it's more about nostalgia rather than style. This helmet transports you back to the golden biker days of the 1940s, of course. I get the feeling this mask is not going to cover your entire face, giving you a pretty interesting look on certain characters. And giving you a greater reason to run different characters, I suppose, as well. Speed Devil. What better way to symbolize the do not give a fuck attitude of the biker lifestyle, than by wearing the face of the devil, the ultimate symbol for civil disobedience. But this one is my personal favorite. I think you guys can imagine why. It's really, really cool. Road Rage. This helmet is reserved for the top dog in a biker gang. It demands respect and authority from your brothers, and when it's time to do battle, you wear this helmet proudly and ride at the front. Awesome masks. Really can't get over how nice they look. Obviously, I never think that cosmetics should be a reason to sway you towards purchasing a DLC, but these have kind of got me. Not that I wouldn't be getting it anyway. Patterns and materials. I think this material on the far left, this yellow sort of sunset one's really nice. I don't think those patterns are going to work fantastically. We will have to wait and see, but I do think the masks make up for it. Some new achievements, 4 new achievements to unlock those masks. Some of which can, definitely give you a little bit of insight into what you're going to be doing. Mike the mechanic finish the bike without any interruptions on overkill difficulty or above, so clearly he can be interrupted. I don't know if it's going to involve him getting shot or manhandled or whatever else, but you can clearly protect him completely to get this achievement. Scavenger on the first day of the Biker Heist job, find the secret item, which is really cool, and it's not really explained what the secret item is, but there's going to be a secret item. It might be biker associated. We have full throttle, completing the second day within 120 seconds, meaning it can be done very quickly, which is always a little bit perturbing. I don't know, like 120 seconds for day 2, don't make it a 2, or, if that's the achievement, let's just say the mission's usually 3 or 4 minutes long. I don't know, not a massive fan of that look, but hey, the mission looks incredible aesthetically. Hopefully it won't be too brief. And here we have an eye for an eye. In the second day of the Biker Heist job, destroy the helicopter turret. So clearly it's not something too hard, but it's definitely achievement worthy, and it carries my favourite mask of the 4, so I can't wait to get in there and shoot out that turret. Finally, yep, we're just going to go on to the character for day 3 that's coming out tomorrow with the DLC itself. We have Simon Viklund bringing us some music, and I think this music really typifies what's been going on with Overkill recently. We've had a bit of a turn back of the clock. We've gone back to before microtransactions. A lot of things are being sorted out. The skill system's been massively improved, if imbalanced slightly, and here we have some classic music. So fans of the Payday music have been asking for more back to the roots type heist tracks, with less 4 on the floor rhythms and more drum loops like you'd hear in the original Payday and the vanilla soundtrack. So, as I aim to please, here are 2 new, heavily drum-driven tracks. One fast and one intense. One slow and heavy. Let the headbanging begin. And let me tell you, I am a massive fan of these tracks. Let's take a quick listen. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys like the music as much as I do. Can't wait to get into the heist for that reason alone. And also, I think everything else shown here is pretty promising, except for maybe the length of day 2. Guys, the DLC is of course coming out tomorrow. I'm going to be back covering the character pack, but depending on what time that releases, I might just be trying to bring you some gameplay of the actual DLC, and I will see you guys then. Thanks a lot again, and I hope you've enjoyed.